got to go forward with speed.
Yeah.
Use the pace on the wingers. Hit the switches before the defence gets set. That's the only opportunity you've got to do. It was f***ing low IQ football from the players and the manager last night. There was literal tangible things where you can't just go, you just got to be better. No, I'll tell you exactly what needed to be better.
Man United 0, Everton 1. Steve, it's the next day. We've had a little bit of time to ruminate on that result. An awful result when you consider the circumstances. Everton down to 10 men from the 13th minute onwards. Everton, a team who were all right, but they're a bottom half, okay Premier League team. Okay. Oh, you can say that.
They brought a 52-year-old Seamus Coleman for his first start since 1975.
Yeah.
And he lasted all of 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Whatever they worked on all week, out of the window, immediately. 4 minutes later, down to 10 men. And somehow it suits David Moyes more.
Just before we get to the full picture, the first 10 minutes before the red card, I knew something was up. I don't know what it was like in the ground or, you know, how it felt, and Amorim mentioned a similar thing, but could you feel straight away that the speed, the intensity, the energy just wasn't there from United?
No, I don't think so. No, because I saw my house with Gary Neville saying they were the better team with 11, and even Amorim echoed that. I didn't think that was the case. Why was Keane and Gana Gay trying to fight each other?
Well,
because we carved them open.
Yeah.
Like, we're forgetting that's why they was literally trying to fight each other on the pitch. Like, that seems to have been completely forgotten about. People want to rewrite history. It was a bad result, and it was a bad performance from our point of view. They weren't better than us.
Okay.
I'm sick of people saying, like, we had 25 shots and 70% of possession, and Everton were better. No, they weren't.
In terms of being better, then obviously, like you said,
They got the win. They got the win,
so everything is painted through that lens.
Yeah.
I think where Everton, were better was man for man, quality wise. We are a better team. We have the better players. I think they did more with the tools at their disposal than we did. I think that when the game was at 0-0, for me, Everton looked just as dangerous as us. I think they had more touches in our final third than we did in theirs. To your point, though, that we did carve them open with Mbeumo and Ahmad on that side, that ended in the Bruno shot and obviously the red card. But I think for what you expect from both teams, they were closer to their top level than we were. And that doesn't necessarily mean that overall they were better than us for the full game. I completely disagree.
That. I think that's what people are misconstruing.
Yeah. And why do you think that was, though? Why do you think we were off our level?
Don't know. But I thought as the game went on, the decision making from the players was shite.
Yeah.
The decision making from the manager was shite, and it was just shite all around.
What specifically do you think? Let's start with the manager. What could he have done differently or better in your eyes?
Change the shape.
Okay.
And I know some of the audience see their arse when I talk about Paddock, but we've had to go and win games late, and I've gone to 2 defenders at the back, not 2 centre halves. I mean, talking 2 defenders on the pitch and 8 forwards,
right? And
sent it and gone for it. All of our subs were like for like, and the shape didn't change. And you were playing against a 9-man wall. You got to keep the lick on because Barry's still a threat, and so he went off quite late, didn't he? But like, he's a threat, and the only one that can really deal with him is Matty de Ligt. Euro wasn't having a good game with or without the ball. Luke Shaw wasn't having a great game without the ball. He was better on it. Can we not continue to maybe utilise the crossing from Luke Shaw down the left-hand side, maybe move him to a left wing-back position and tell him to cheat? Why are we seeing corners in the second half when we're losing and we're down to 10 men where our entire team is in our box? Why? They don't have the manpower that they had. Leave someone high. You've got an outlet then when the corner comes in, you can actually get away from it. Otherwise, what I see all the time is corners end up in sustained possession in your half because you've got no outlet. Go and put 3 people on the halfway line. Make them make a decision. Like, at no point did the manager do anything risky. Everything was a like-for-like sub. You've got Shea Lacey on the bench. Like, we nullified our biggest threat, which I thought was both Mbeumo and Ahmad. And Ahmad's dribbling from the centre before the second half was probably what looked like our most dangerous asset. You put him over on the right-hand side against a 9-man block and ask him to do what? Beat 9 men to come inside or cross it. Right, sweet, we're going to cross it against Tarkowski. Fucking sound. What a great idea that is. So what talk me through how you're trying to win this game. oh, we're going to put inverted wingers that are going to check back inside onto their wrong foot to try and cross it. Who are they crossing it to? Because all of our forwards don't get beyond the final man. You're crossing it to Xerxes, who's got no mirrors in his house, doesn't know that he's a big fucking unit. You're crossing it to Mbeumo, who's 5'9", and you're crossing it to Mount, who's 5'9". Why are we putting crosses in the box?
What would your message have been? How would you have tried to break it out? Because it is obviously notoriously difficult to break down.
Low blocks work. 9
men in the box. And crossing makes sense because the only space you do have is that horseshoe around them, and from there all you can do is cross it in most of the time.
Yeah, but when you cross it from the edge of the box, you have to put it in the air.
Yeah.
If you can get to the byline, you can cut it back, and then you can look for checkbacks, and you can put it on the floor.
Like the one we saw with Mount cutting it back to Bruno.
Yeah,
where he stabbed it with the outside of his foot.
You can put it on the floor. Yeah, which is probably that and the one that Xerxes got his head on was probably the best shots that we had.
Yeah.
If you can get around the outside, you can't get around the outside when your wingers on both sides or your wing backs on both sides want to come in onto their wrong foot and cross it within swingers. You know, okay, on one hand, Dorgu was poor. He wasn't working. That's why I said, can we not use Luke Shaw and try and get around the outside that side? Or maybe put Ahmad over that side. Put Delo over on this side. You know, Mazraoui didn't make a complete cross, but he was crossing with his right foot into dangerous areas on the floor. We just weren't getting on the end of them. You know, if you have Ahmad in the centre of the pitch, run at someone. His dribbling is fantastic. Like, his dribbling's brilliant. You put him in the middle of the pitch and just keep running at them. Someone's going to foul you, especially with the way referees and VAR is now. Everything's a foul, although last night that wasn't the case. Run at them. Bring Shea Lacey on. Take a defender off. Just go Matty De Ligt and Luke Shaw and everybody else. Let's get into the box. Why are we seeing Bruno and Casemiro picking it up from De Ligt on the halfway line? Fucking get ahead of the ball. Why are we, when we are transitioning on the few instances where there was space in behind, are we taking 5-6 passes and jogging forward? It's got to go forward with speed. Yeah. Use the pace on the wingers. Hit the switches before the defence gets set. That's the only opportunity you've got to do. It was fucking low IQ football from the players and the manager last night. There was literal tangible things where you can't just go, you just got to be better. No, I'll tell you exactly what needed to be better. You got to dribble with it. You got to get around the outside. You've got to change what you're doing. You can't put crosses in against Tarkowski because that's the fucking best thing in the world for Tarkowski. You can't put crosses in for people that are this fucking big. That need a fucking shelf to get a step to get to the top shelf. You can't have 3 forwards who want the ball to feet. Who's running in behind? It's so fucking easy to play against. There was no in-behind threat whatsoever the second that you decided to go with the shape that you went with. There was none. Or you can use Mbeumo, but tell him to fucking cheat. Tell him to be behind. And at corners, like I said, have someone stand on the halfway line. Have 3 people stand on the halfway line. And just go, fucking now what you're going to do. Because everybody in the league has their entire team back in the box. But you're playing against 10 men. You've at least got one fucking person you can go stick on the halfway line, surely. You don't need all that many people. There's only one ball.
It's weird for me that between the manager and the players, they didn't change more things, and I think the formation itself, I pushed back on that yesterday, and I think that in and of itself wasn't necessarily the issue. Although if you want to go for broke, last 15 minutes, take a defender off, I understand that, but I think, like you said, maybe it was the way it was implemented, the style that we ended up having to play, and the style that Everton obviously play a big role in as well. It's not just Man United do what we want and Everton have to put up with it. They influence the way you play as much as you influence the way they play. Yeah, but I do agree that doing something different would have been nice. And the number of different things he could have done is limited by the injuries and by the fact that you don't have Sesko or Cunha, by the fact that your more attacking left-sided player in Dorgu was just very poor. He obviously wasn't, for whatever reason, it wasn't on it at all. Maybe you, like you said, could have put Luke Shaw out there for a little bit. But I think that there was just, like you sort of mentioned, when we're trying to attack quickly and down the lines, the one where they got the red card was one of the few times where people were sprinting off the ball. It was sprints in. It doesn't have to be a 40-yard sprint, a 5-yard sprinting behind. The Mason Mount one that we're talking about, Mount made a run in behind and they found it straight away and they cut the ball back. Bruno's in space. If he trusted his left foot, it might be 1-1. And it felt like we saw things that worked and didn't repeat them. And you end up doing that, and every team gets dragged into it. We got dragged into it under Van Gaal. It felt like we spent 12 months passing it in a horseshoe in front of their defence. But when you don't really know what to do and people aren't making the runs, you do just end up with this sort of passing for passing's sake. Now, I think what we did do quite well in the second half, they had 0 shots. So it did manage to nullify their chances of getting the second goal. But it was at the expense of our own sort of chance creation. If just in terms of personnel, if we'd have had Cunha and Sesko playing, do you think that game goes differently? Do you think that why do you think it changes again?
Well, the crosses are more effective because you're dealing with someone who's an actual threat in the air. So if you did end up putting crosses in like that, you've got someone that can actually win them in Sesko.
Yeah.
But also you've got a dribbler in Cunha that's going to do things that are unpredictable and start playing off 1 and 2 touch. We were far too safe in the final third. Like you said, you get into that habit of passing it around in the horseshoe because it feels safe and it feels like the right thing to do. But you need someone to dribble. Like, you have to be allowed to make bad decisions in the final third. And not necessarily bad decisions, but you have to take a risk. You have to do things that maybe are a little bit risky. And I think the riskiest thing you can do is to play safe.
Yeah.
Like, in the negative sense of being risky. Like, when you have a defence that's set, you've got 9 people behind the ball and a keeper. When they're set and structured in the way that they are, you have to take somebody out of the game. Now, you either do that by going 2v1 on them and passing it around them on 1 touch, ideally, because it's very difficult to press and tackle somebody that's playing on 1 touch. Or you have someone that's an elite dribbler, of which Mbeumo can do, Ahmad can do. There's not really many others in the squad that can do. Mainu can do it in tight spaces. We didn't see that at all when he came on. And you get the ball in and around the D and go forward and penetrate into the box. You're either going to get a shot off, you're either going to draw traffic towards you, and then can we look for a little pop to the side and somebody else have a shot where they've got a bit more space, or draw the foul and get the pen. We did none of that.
Watching United against Brighton was a good example of this, and watching, I don't know if you saw Arsenal versus Tottenham, like, all 3, I think, of Eze's goals would probably be somewhat low on XG. They're that in that kind of 15 to 18 yard bracket where you need someone who's a good finisher to put them in. Cunha's very good at that. Bruno typically is quite good at that, but didn't get many chances at it. And with the Brighton game, Cunha scored the goal from the edge of the box. Casemiro scored that goal from the edge of the box. Even I think just having someone in those areas that could just score from there. Like, look at Everton's goal. It was in that same band, 15 to 18 yards out. Well, it's really hard to score, but there are people who are genuinely very good at that. They had 1 shot on target, and it was from 17 yards out. Like, that isn't typically going to win you any games. If you went into every game saying you're going to have 1 shot on target today and it's going to be from there, you probably get relegated. And yet they won that game. I think if Cunha was there, I think, like you said, his unpredictability, his dribbling probably creates space for people around him because he's actually going for stuff. Maybe a second ball drops to a Bruno or a Casemiro and you could even get a goal through that. It felt like an accumulation of bad decisions and bad things. I think after the game, Amorim spoke about he's worried about things going back to how they were last season and he doesn't want that repeat of things. Does that concern you? Do you think that's a real likelihood? Or do you think that
the fact that he's come out and said that is telling.
Yeah.
Because he obviously thinks it might be.
Yeah.
The secondary part to that is we spoke about it all last season. Why was it bad last season primarily?
Not scoring enough goals.
Right, okay. We lost 2/3 of our new signings ahead of that game. And even though I thought Mbeumo was still probably the one that was trying the hardest, nothing came off from him. And obviously we were nilled. The supporting cast and the system isn't good enough to support just chance creation regardless of who plays. We are relying on the individuals to create the chances and the openings for us, which is, it's more so in every team than people want to admit, but people do think that systems to a degree can help create stuff, and tactics to a degree can help create stuff, but it's still on the players to execute it. Xerxes not good enough. Or Xerxes played when all 3 of the forwards are coming to feet is not good enough. When Ahmad did that, Mount did that, Xerxes did that, and Mbeumo did that. Cool. Who's stretching the play? It was my major criticism of what Gareth Southgate was doing. When you've got, he had Bellingham, he had Foden, he had Saka, he had Kane, and he needed a Rashford. Someone that was going to just play on the shoulder and running behind. Okay, that team that we put out last night, not a lot of people that are able to do that. Brian Mbeumo can.
Yeah.
Give him the instruction to do so. He doesn't seem like the type who'd be like, oh, well, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
ask him to do something and he'll do it. I think he didn't. I don't think he got asked to do it. But then I also worry at the point of like, at what point do you think, when you see something happen on the football pitch, is it going to take it upon yourself to make it happen? Because I was watching Bruno last night. Bruno ended up with a lot of the ball last night, and his decisions weren't good. I don't think. And he ended up with a lot of shots, and they were hero shots. And I'm thinking there was better options on it a lot of the time that you was, shooting from 25 yards. Yes, you can score from there, but there was first half, second half, so many times when you just banged it from far out, and you go, that would have been an amazing goal, but you've not even hit the target. It was low IQ football from everybody involved with the United badge on.
It's annoying as well, because looking forward to next week now, if we'd have won that game, you're 5th or 4th, depending on how many goals you score, and next week you go to Palace away, and I think most people would take a draw probably. Now it's, not must win in terms of anyone getting sacked or anything like that, but in terms of like maintaining this pressure on the European places, a loss would be really damaging now.
Yeah.
Do you think that brings its own level of intensity that might help us? It puts some pressure on us that might get a performance out of us? Or do you worry that we'll sort of, Bruno starts taking shots from everywhere, everyone takes it on themselves we have to win this game rather than playing right and doing the right things?
Yeah, I feel like confidence is fragile.
Yeah.
And I feel like we had a nice little bit of momentum, and we had a nice little bit of a run, and we were starting to look like we were playing a little bit more free and open. The manager clearly does not trust his subs, hence why he doesn't really make them. I think he's still probably not enamoured with the full starting 11. Maybe 7 or 8 of them he's sure on. The rest, I think he's dealing with whatever he can deal with. He has to bring in an element of risk. He's going to have to bring in players that maybe he doesn't want to play, partially to get them up to speed, partially to try something new. Shea Lacey's not world class. He's not the answer to anything. But like, could he have done worse than Delo last night?
It'd be nice to see him try, wouldn't it? Yeah.
What's he known for? Dribbling in tight spaces.
Yeah.
Right. You to get these players ready, you're going to have to do something that you don't really want to do. And the players that have come in are the ones that let you down last year.
Yeah.
That's who's coming off the bench. Mainu looks an absolute shell of himself. I don't know if he's mentally checked out, knows he's going on loan, knows he's being sold, has already made his mind up on those things and it's affecting his performance, but he doesn't look like he wants to be there. Now that's not universal. There's not a lot of players that look like that. Joshua Zirkzee is an enigma of a player because he's got really, really tidy feet and he can beat someone, turn, play a wonderful pass, and the next time he gets it, pass it for a throw-in. He's, I don't know if that's a freshness thing, a rustiness thing. I don't know what that is with him. He might just be a frustrating sort of player. When Cunha and Sesko are fit, he's not getting a sniff. Just not getting a sniff because he's the wrong profile for what we need. We have too many players that come and do what he does better than he does it, more reliably than he does it. He isn't a big presser. The things that he does, Mbeumo also does, Mount also does, but they also offer a goal threat or work rate that he doesn't offer. I don't think he's going to be a Manchester United player much longer. Can you bring somebody in? Can you find somebody that comes in and that's able to give you a plan B that you like? Danny Welbeck's name keeps getting brought up. I don't think Danny Welbeck would want to come. Come and be back up. Are you mad?
Yeah, he's starting every week. I think he's the third top goal scorer in the Premier League at the minute.
I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's realistic. But you've got 4 games now to see without Sesko.
Yeah.
And then who knows how many games without Ahmad and Mbeumo. It could get really bad again.
I know. And that's it. We said it yesterday. You look at that starting 11, I think 9 of them were just last season's team. And, you're not going to get a drastically different... 9 of the 10 outfield players, should I say. 8 of the 10 outfield players were there at the start of last season. Dorgu came halfway through last season and was there for a lot of those bad results. Like, you're not going to get a drastically different performance with the same players. And Burma was the only outfield player that wasn't, losing all those games. And it does make you realise a little bit that, yes, we've got a new front three, but when 2 of those front three are missing, like you said, that's not enough. Look what managers have to do to go from being... And let's say 15th was a bit of an anomaly. Let's say we were a mid-table team in terms of squad quality. You need probably 8 or 9 new players, realistically, rather than 2 or 3. So it's going to be a little while, but I just thought, the speed, the intensity, all of that looked, so below par.
It was dumb.
It was just bad, wasn't it? Just really, really poor. Right, cheers, Steve, as always. Thanks for coming on. Thank you at home for joining us as well. Get your thoughts in the comments. We've had a bit of time to reflect. I woke up feeling so shit this morning, though. Then you think of the game, you go, oh, God, 10 men Everton. Other than Grimsby, that's on paper the worst one for a while, that, innit?
Yeah, it was a horrendous performance in every single aspect that it could have possibly been. And the second they get to 10 men, there was a bloke stood next to us went, you better hope they don't score first.
Yeah.
He goes, and then they do. And I think we had a couple of shots before half-time. He went, if we don't get one before half-time, before you know it, it's going to be 60, then 70, then 80. And he was right.
Yeah. I looked last night, I need to double-check this, but I think the last time United won a Premier League game where we conceded first, I believe was in February, which is bad. That's not... We need to fix that anyway. Right, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.